Hello, welcome to this tutorial on mapping a transdisciplinary project using the generated resources learning methodology that is created by Dr. Pascal and Dr. Anju Shazo, who are co-founders of the Mahatma Gandhi International School in Ahmedabad. Namaste, I'm Anju Shazo, and in this tutorial I shall be sharing some examples of projects that we do at the Mahatma Gandhi International School in Ahmedabad. I shall take you through the processes of mapping the whole project, so let's get started. The first important thing is that projects must be relevant. They must have a purpose, and this must be linked to the child's life context. At our school, children learn by doing real life projects such as running the cafeteria for a day. They calculate quantities, they make purchases, they make the food themselves, they manage the accounts, they calculate the profit and loss, and then they learn about their own health. By doing this, many competencies in maths, languages, science, and technology are easily covered. Or they make films, for example, on social issues, and by scripting, storyboarding, filming, editing, they learn languages, social sciences, technology, sound and light in physics, etc. And of course, so many real life skills such as observation, collaboration, communication, organization, critical thinking, etc., are naturally integrated. A good example here of a relevant project is that of waste management solutions. Here you can see children bringing packaging of what they consume to school. They categorize and sort it. They even weigh it, thus becoming aware of the amount of whatever they're consuming. Note that it is the children themselves who get the objects. This is not given by the teacher, and this is what makes it so very engaging and participatory for children. Children also learn to read the labels on the packets that they're consuming and understand these. They classify the packaging on the basis of the origin of the product, whether it is imported or made in India. They also reflect on whether these products are something that they need or something that they desire. They then run awareness campaigns on wasteful packaging to educate others. So many skills such as observation, classification, communication, etc. are learned and applied by children by doing such projects. They also learn critical thinking by analyzing the impact of advertisements. Obviously, in such projects, there's a lot of scope to integrate various art forms, such as they can make posters with messages or draw the life cycle of a product to educate others. Now, here is a mapping of a project. The different branches depict the different processes that are involved. Note that these processes have words that are action words, such as making, creating, running, calculating, etc. So, for example, if they're running a campaign on e-waste management, then of course they'll be making a table on the items that are coming in or going out of their homes. They'll be identifying their needs and wants. They'll be analyzing advertisements. They'll be tracing the journey of a product and so on. Teachers work collaboratively, therefore, to first note down all the processes which go around such a project. And then they make the links with the competencies in the curriculum. We shall see that just a little later. First, let us understand the difference between an activity and a project. There are a lot of misconceptions on what is a project and what is an experiential learning project. Both activities and projects are important, but it is obvious that activities can be standalone modules or fall within the scope of a project. For example, an activity is instantaneous and it's based on instructions, but a project is long-term with stages of an action plan, objectives, and anticipated outcomes. These processes are mapped and children have opportunities to experiment, apply, and discover new insights. To take an example, a role play is a simple activity. It can even be used, for example, to check prior learning of the children, or it can be used as part of formative assessment. But preparing a play as an awareness campaign for a social issue is a project. So the preparation of the play is mapped in terms of content, dialogues, costumes, space, lighting, budgets, etc. Now, this obviously will include a lot of competencies from different disciplines such as languages, science, math, social studies, management, arts, etc. Similarly, writing a report after a research or doing a presentation is an activity. For example, a topic, which is what is electricity, is an activity. But if you're doing a project, it means you're doing a project on what is the electricity consumption at home. How do we eliminate wastage? So making plans or making proposals to reduce wastage can become a project. This means the children are conducting surveys, they're making plans, they're making a solution. And in doing this, they're also creating posters or awareness campaigns. Another example of an activity is what is a healthy diet? Now, this is typically a topic. But if you're making a dish based on a healthy diet, then that becomes a project. And in doing so, children will be investigating what is a healthy recipe. They'll be doing surveys to choose the dish, what is available as ingredients. They'll be doing the costing, planning and preparation of utensils, space, public, etc. They may be even making a prototype. They'll be trying and testing it, and of course taking feedback from others. So all these different stages are what go into making a project. A project is always much more long term, and what we really need to always keep in mind is that it has to be meaningful and relevant to the child's life. It has to have a purpose. If you've understood that so far, then we can now go on to looking at what is a project. So let's say making a good cup of tea is a project. Why? Well, because tea, everyone loves it. And it's always great to take a break with that. It symbolizes so many things in so many different cultures. So let us look at all the stages in making a cup of tea. The first thing is the title itself. It is important that the title itself consists of an action word. And here the action word is making. Making a good cup of tea. Not just a cup of tea, which would make it a topic. So the first step or the first stage in the mapping is to allow children to express their prior learning or their prior notions. Children may have some idea about the topic that they're learning or the project they're going to be doing. They may have misconceptions, they may have prejudices. So it's important that by different means we allow children to express this. Now, how can they do that? Well, children can express their prior ideas in a variety of ways, such as doing a little role play or mime of drinking tea. And from this, the teacher and the group gets feedback about what the child knows. This is also an important step that establishes the purpose of the project. Why is this project so important to learn? Children themselves realize the purpose or the importance of what they're going to be doing. So therefore, part of this first stage is the purpose, which is for what and why. Now let us go to step 2. This consists of doing research by the children on the topic or object of exploration. For doing this, children are going to be collecting real data from the surroundings as part of the research. They conduct surveys, they go on field trips, they interview experts, they read books, they use the internet, and so on. As part of this step, they will need to conduct a survey to find out, let's say, who all like to drink tea, which kind of teas are available in the market. Obviously, they will have to write their questions and know how to conduct interviews. This gives teachers opportunities to teach and build on language and communication skills, and also creates occasion to integrate local languages. Interviews with experts in use of internet will also bring in some basic IT skills. Children will also have opportunities to learn about the health benefits of tea or even the ill effects of too much tea. Depending on the age group, of course, they can explore different kinds of tea and its effects on health. In doing so, it of course means that many competencies that are related to subjects such as biology or nutrition can be integrated here. And it can also be chemistry on looking at how do things interact in terms of boiling or interacting with your body, etc. They may have to find out that there are many different kinds of tea. And in doing so, competencies from different subjects can be covered while exploring the origins of tea, the properties of tea, the economics of it, etc. Similarly, many components related to culture can be included since tea drinking is different in different cultures. So, languages around stories around tea can also be done. So, you're bringing in culture through folk tales and stories, you're bringing in chemistry, let's say the pH balance of water, how does that change? You bring in geography through where is the tea grown, you bring in economics and history, etc. Now, let's go to the third stage. The third stage is a plan of action because children now need to plan how are they going to be making the cup of tea. In the making of the tea now, they would have to think about the cost. Obviously, when they're deciding to do that, they will have a lot of mathematical competencies, which may be proportions and measures and calculations which are going to come in. Similarly, they will have to know about utensils. They may have to know about simple machines when they're using in the kitchen. They would have to know about ingredients. And when they know about ingredients, they would have to then think about making a prototype of tea or whatever it is that they're making, and then, of course, taking feedback from a public on their prototype. They'll also have to think about time management, about space, etc. So, in these processes, many competencies linked to languages and science will come in. The fourth stage is the action itself. For doing this, they're going to be making the tea and they will need to take feedback from the people who are consuming tea, which means that they will have to conduct a survey. Again, here, a lot of competencies of language can be very naturally integrated. A lot of life skills will come in because they're actually doing things. So you will have management skills, you'll have critical thinking, you'll have creativity. Maybe they're going to be designing posters or creating menus, etc. And the fifth stage is an important stage because this is reflection. Now, experiential learning without reflection doesn't really help much because it is only when you begin to go into cognition, metacognition, when you begin to reflect on what you learned, how did you learn it, and why did you learn it, that really the learning becomes very meaningful for the children. So here the reflection process can be written or it can be oral through different ways of feedback or filmed portfolios or just sharing of experiences. It can be discussions and exchanges. So here now you can see all the 5 stages of the mapping process, which means that you have your first stage, which is initial representations or the preconceived notions that children have. The stage 2 is research, the stage 3 is plan of action, the fourth is the action itself, and the fifth is reflection. Now, the second stage will be the mapping of the competencies which are related to your own subject area and which are given by your board. Now, this is very important. As you can see, what we've done is we've started with some real life project. We've mapped all the stages, which is all the processes of learning, and then we're going to the competencies of learning. We are not starting from the competencies and then trying to go into some practical part. We are actually first doing the thing, and in the doing of those things, we are then looking at naturally, organically, what competencies just fall in a natural way. This is a much more holistic and simple way to learn. Let us now see how we can integrate the competencies that are defined as learning outcomes into the project. If we take the subject of English, Then, while doing activities, different competencies according to different age groups can easily be integrated. For example, you can see here in grade 4, doing different kinds of advertisements when they are reading labels, that would be fulfilling a competency in grade 4. Or when they're conducting short interviews of people around them, then they are doing a competency in grade 5. Similarly, when they're engaging in conversations or doing small role plays or inviting people, writing letters, all of this would mean that they're actually covering language competencies as defined in grade 6 or 7 or 8 according to the level of difficulty. Similarly, in mathematics, you can have competencies from grade 6 to grade 7 and grade 8 that can be integrated. For example, draws and interprets bar charts and pie charts. So the data that the children collect, let's say they're doing a survey on who likes what kind of tea, then that real data can be then analyzed in terms of a bar chart or a pie chart. So they may also interpret a data using a bar graph to look at consumption of tea, which is more in winters than in summers. In the original, it is written electricity. So you can see how easy it is. Similarly, calculates profit and loss. That is again a competency which can easily be integrated. Similarly, many competencies in environmental sciences can be integrated. For example, in grade 3, they can explore the aroma of different types of tea leaves, list out the different cooking processes, make estimates of quantities. Or in grade 5, they can record their observations of different phenomena like mixing, floating, or evaporation. You get the idea. Many learning outcomes in science as well, such as investigative procedures, observation about the nature of materials, phenomena such as the structure of a flame, etc., can be covered. Even a learning outcome, such as exploring the effect of pesticides on health, can be integrated, etc. Social sciences again, physical features, where is the tea grown, why does it go in a particular environment, different relationship, interrelationship of different elements in an environment, creating an advertisement, differentiating between different kinds of market, etc. And even in history, for example, how did the East India Company become a most dominant power? Looking at different kinds of classification based on raw materials, the size and ownership of different kinds of industries. You can compare tea companies, for example, in a higher class. So there is absolutely no limit to the kind of things that teachers can do when it's actually a real life project, because very naturally you will find the links to the competencies that are given by the board. And you should be now ready to actually have a real cup of tea. We hope you enjoyed this. This is Thank You from Anju Shazab.